Out of the past in lively old Rio, NewTimes.com. Subscribe, digital/home delivery. Log in. Register now. Help. Homepage. Today's paper. Video. Most popular. Edition, US/global. Search all NewTimes.com. Travel. World. US. NY/region. Business. Technology. Science. Health. Sports. Opinion. Arts. Style. Travel. Jobs. Real estate. Autos. Search 1000 plus destinations. Plan your trip times picks. Select a destination. Cultured traveler. Out of the past in lively old Rio. Andrea Vieira for the New York Times. Left to right, work by Beatriz Milhazes at the Paco Imperial, strolling down an old Rio street, and an installation of work by Cai Guoqiang at the Centro Cultural Banco do Brasil. By Larry Roh Tirr. Published, September 13, 2013. As Rio de Janeiro undergoes a facelift in preparation for next year's World Cup and the 2016 Summer Olympics, what was old is once again new. Connect with us on Twitter. Follow @NewTimesTravel for tips, features and photography from all over the globe. Enlarge this image. Andrea Vieira for the New York Times. Activity in the old Rio neighborhood centers on the quaint Rua do Vidro. Mile from the future Olympic Village, the refurbished Maracana Stadium and the new subway stops that have turned streets in Ipanema and Leblon into construction sites, Rio's old downtown, the center of Brazil's public life for much of the 19th and 20th centuries, has come springing back over the past decade or so as an entertainment and cultural hub. The resurgence goes beyond Lapa, a once disreputable district on the outskirts of downtown whose revival has been so ballyhooed that there seems little new to say. Anytime I'm in the city that was once Brazil's capital, I find myself gravitating instead to a corner of downtown that is less frenetic and also offers a greater variety of attractions. Rio Antigo, or Old Rio, wedged between the former docks and Rua 1 Marco in one direction, and Avenida President Vargas and Praça X de Novembro on the other. Day or night, activity in the neighborhood centers on the quaint Rua do Vidro, lined with attractive open-air restaurants, art galleries, bookstores and shops selling everything from antiques to custom-made Panama hats. On a Saturday afternoon in July, the height of the Brazilian winter, the street was crowded with Rio residents lunching al fresco as groups of musicians strolled from table to table, singing and playing samba and coranjo, the style of acoustic music that is one of the predecessors of the samba. Coranjo was developed in the 19th century, so it seems highly appropriate, a touch of historical symmetry even, to see it being played on a street whose first heyday came when Rio was the somewhat scruffy seat of an empire ruled by Pedro II. In her book A Prison in Brazil, an account of life in Rio in the 1850s, Adele Toussaint Sampson remarked on the profusion of milliners, hairdressers, florists and pastry shops displayed in all their splendor along the Rua do Vidro, and took special note of the street's leisure-loving denizens. It is the daily rendezvous of the young men about town, who, under the pretext of buying some cigars or cravats, come to flirt with the French women, on whom they dote. She wrote, "This street, though narrow and ugly, is in some respects the Boulevard d'Italiens of the capital of Brazil," a reference to a street that was then the center of café society in Paris, and thus, she added in a burst of condescending enthusiasm, is essentially a French street. In my own case, I began to frequent Rio Antigo, sometimes called the Cultural Corridor, in the middle of the last decade, when a restaurant called Cais do Orient, or Docks of the Orient, which had opened on the Rua Visconde de Ibarra a couple of years earlier, began offering live jazz performances featuring top-flight Brazilian musicians. I was hesitant at first, when I first lived in Rio in the 1970s and worked on the other side of Avenida President Vargas. I would sometimes lunch at a Japanese restaurant on Rua do Vidro, but once darkness fell, the neighborhood, genteelly shabby during the day, became a desert. Cais do Orient eventually stopped featuring jazz on a regular basis, but I kept going back to the area, in large part because I had by then discovered museums like the Centro Cultural Banco do Brasil, housed in an imposing neoclassical building that used to be the headquarters of the central bank. The center opened in 1989, but its programming has become increasingly ambitious in recent